Hello, welcome to Nursing with Professor B. My name is Bridget. I have a master's degree in nursing education. I'm also a family nurse practitioner. In today's video, I will be going over the 5 love languages by Gary Chapman and why they can make or break a relationship. All right, before we get started, make sure you hit the like button, make sure that you subscribe, and make sure you turn on that notification bell. Let's go. The 5 love languages was written by Gary Chapman, and I got this graph off of this website here, creativesolutionsonline.org, if you want to check that website out. The reason why the 5 love languages is so important is think of a gas tank, right? And I'm going to take it a step further. Gary Chapman doesn't talk about diesel and he doesn't talk about regular gasoline, right? But let's say that you have a love tank that goes off of diesel and you give it normal gasoline, you're going to mess up the engine. I'm not a mechanic, but I know that if you don't put the right kind of gasoline in a tank, you're going to screw that engine up. Vice versa, if you put diesel in a normal gas tank, that's not a good thing either. So, what happens with the 5 love languages is we all feel loved in different ways. And he describes in the book that there are primarily 5 love languages. Now, there can be different dialects, but essentially they all fit into the same category. So, if, for example, I'll give you an example from my life. I dated someone for 4 years. And towards the end, I did not feel loved by that person despite knowing that that person loved me. Now, the reason why I did not feel loved was because my love language is physical touch. And that partner was very aloof, very distant, was not used to physical touch. How did he express love for me? By acts of service and by giving me gifts. But for me, I mean, yeah, gifts are nice or doing things for me are nice, but it doesn't really do anything to my love tank. It doesn't make me feel loved. So I was very unhappy in that relationship because I needed the expression of love in a certain way and I wasn't getting it. So, the 5 love languages are we'll start with words of affirmation. Sometimes people will feel loved by having someone say positive things about them or saying, what a great thing, or thank you so much for taking out the trash, etc. So, for example, how can you communicate words of affirmation? You can encourage, affirm, appreciate, and listen actively. So, ways that sometimes we will kill the love in a relationship is, let's say your partner took out the trash finally. And instead of saying, thank you for taking out the trash, I appreciate it, you're like, it's about time you took out the trash. You never do anything anyway, right? If that person's love language is words of affirmation, you're essentially poking a hole in that gas tank and you're leaking out all the gasoline. So, things to avoid when someone's love language is words of affirmation is not recognizing or appreciating their effort. Because if they don't get those words of affirmation, essentially then they're almost going to check out or give up on the relationship. Actions to take: you want to send an unexpected note, text, or card, something like, I'm thinking about you. Um, you're great, just little things throughout the day. The next one we have is physical touch, and how to communicate this is nonverbal use of body language and touch to show love. Now, in the book, he talks about how many times males will think that that physical touch is their love language because they enjoy sex, right? But physical touch is not only about sex. So, putting sex aside, not counting that, how do you feel loved, right? So, ways that people feel loved with physical touch is hugs, kisses, cuddling. Things to avoid: physical neglect or abuse. So, with me, and the reason why things work with in my current relationship is because both of our love languages is physical touch. So, for example, if I'm watching a TV show, I want to be next to my partner. I want to be cuddling. I want to be hugged consistently. Whereas in the past relationship, we would sit and we would be side by side, but he would never want to hug or cuddle. Again, he was very aloof, very distant. It just wasn't in his nature. So I teach mental health nursing. I've had students that tell me that their husband's love language is physical touch, but theirs is not. So if you are married or you're in a relationship and you love that person, at the end of the day, you are going to have to make a compromise. If your love language is not physical touch, but it is your partner's, you are almost emotionally starving them. So you need to bite the bullet or buck up, as they say, and consciously find ways to do little ways of physical touch, whether it's putting your hand on their shoulder or hugging them when you see them, when they come in through the door, giving them a hug, giving them a kiss. Now, for some people, their love language is receiving gifts. How to communicate in this love language is thoughtfulness. So, for example, if you know that I feel like one thoughtful gift that I gave once was someone liked to work out and they also liked a specific superhero. They were always drinking protein shakes. So I got this person a blender bottle, like a blender protein shake with the superhero symbol on the cup. So it's not something expensive, but it's something thoughtful. Or recently, I bought a house. I gave my real estate agent a mug that had words of affirmation. I don't know my real estate agent's love language, but I kind of killed two birds with one stone by giving him a gift. And also, it had words of affirmation on the mug, something along the lines of like, just talking about how great he was as a real estate agent. So that's being thoughtful, getting personalized gifts. It doesn't have to be something expensive. Thoughtful. If your spouse loves flowers, pick a wild flower if you don't have the money to buy roses. But you make your spouse a priority. You give thoughtful gifts and gestures. You express gratitude when receiving gifts. So even if your love language is not receiving gifts, but because your spouse your spouse's love language is receiving gifts, a lot of times people will use the love language that they are. So it's important that if they give you a gift, you also receive it and express gratitude. Things to not do is being unenthusiastic when gift receiving or forgetting special occasions. Now, again, this is why my current relationship works because I am the worst with dates. I am always forgetting like when our relationship started, our major milestones, but we're both like that. So we just kind of laugh it off and we'll be like, how long have we been dating now? Ha, we don't know, right? It's not a big deal to us because that's not our main love language. But if this were someone's love language, then anniversaries are very special to them, birthdays, things like that. Okay, so the next love language is quality time and uninterrupted and focused conversations. So, really being with someone versus always like they're talking to you and you're on your phone. One on one time is important. So, it's important for them to have your presence. Create special moments, take walks, and do small things with your partner. And things to avoid is distractions when spending time together, long time without one on one time. Acts of service, ways that you can communicate this is let them know you're wanting to help to lighten their load. So, with people that their love language is acts of service, they will feel loved by you actually doing something, whether it's taking the trash out, whether it's sweeping, vacuuming, whatever it is to that specific person. And you can always ask your partner, what would make you feel loved? What can I do to make you feel loved? And they'll tell you specifically. You can make them breakfast or dinner. You can go out of your way to help them with the chores. So, for example, if they really want you to do dishes, then do the dishes. Things to avoid is not following through on small and large tasks. So, if they ask you to do something like pick up the dry cleaning and you forget, it's a big deal for people whose love language is acts of service because to them, their interpretation of it, even though it may not be this way, their interpretation of it is you didn't do this for me, therefore you don't love me. Because if you loved me, you would show me you love me by doing this for me. Love languages are very, very important so that you can recognize and know how to make your partner feel loved. When you first start in a relationship, usually the first 2 years are your honeymoon phase. And the thing is that when you're on a high, you don't see the flaws in your partner, and you tend to do a lot of these. So you're kind of hitting every aspect of the love languages without even really knowing it. But then once the high ends, you tend to revert back to your way of showing love. Even though this looks and sounds so simple, I can't emphasize enough how if you follow this, how your relationship can change. I wanted to show you this with the 5 taco love languages. I did not make this. It was on that website again. But words of affirmation, how to show how to show love through tacos. Who doesn't love tacos? I love tacos. Words of affirmation is your tacos are delicious. These are the best tacos I've ever eaten. Thank you so much for making me these tacos. Acts of service, I made you tacos. Receiving gifts, here's a taco. Quality time, let's go out for tacos. Physical touch, let me hold you like a taco. You can go to 5lovelanguages.com. You can take the couples quiz. Now, not only does this work for couples, but this also works for children so that you know how your children feel loved. I really encourage you to read the 5 love languages. I think it will just help. I mean, reading these kinds of books just helps you become a better human being. They have it in paperback, they have a CD of it. I will include the link below for the book. If you have Hoopla, it's free on Hoopla. I did a video on how to get free books on Hoopla. It's like Audible, but for free if you have a library card. So check out that video. I encourage you. I mean, when dating, take this love language quiz, and it's something to consider. Like, is your partner, if you're thinking of dating someone, and for example, like my love language is physical touch, is that something that that person is comfortable with? Like, and to someone whose physical love language is physical touch, you would just be like, what? Someone would not be okay with physical touch, but you'd be surprised how common it is. There are some people that just don't like to be touched. My sister is one of them. She's also very aloof, and she does not like to be she does not like touch. She has a large personal space, whereas I just want to hug everybody, right? Which has made things difficult with COVID, but I hope this helps. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure that you like, subscribe, you turn on that notification bell.